So there's a problem in Canada that isn't in the public consciousness. People aren't talking about that, are aware of it, but it feeds into pretty much every other problem in Canada. And that is that really boring, mundane, conformist, conventional thinking has been elevated in Canada to the status of the intellectual ideal, so that all the pundits that you see or you hear from, anybody in the media class, the political class, the academic class, whatever it is, the commentary and the public discourse that they engage in which Canadians are exposed to, is so mediocre and boring and dull and predictable and conventional. And it's a worshiping of that kind of thinking. It's a worshiping of that kind of middling, let's just think the way everybody else thinks about everything, and presenting that as incredibly sophisticated. This is what defines you as a sophisticated person, as an educated person, as someone who really understands the world and what's going on, is that you limit your thinking to these very conventional interpretations and concepts and beliefs. And at the same time, unconventional, interesting, daring thinking is just banished entirely from the public discourse, from the public realm. You never see it. And you don't see it because unconventional, nonconformist thinking is actively disincentivized in Canada by associating it with low social status. And you see this all of the time in any kind of discussion panels, when you get the same, like if it's CBC, you get the same three people on week after week, night after night, and they all agree on everything. And what they all agree on is that anybody who doesn't conform to the sort of establishment status quo perspective or narrative on anything is inferior to them. They're the dumb people. They're the crazy people. So it really is a culture that we have now that demonizes nonconformist thinking. Interesting people who look at the world in a way that might bring forth some insights that are new or stimulating. That is now verboten because it's associated with being one of those dumb, uneducated people. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to. That's what it's really about. It's about conformity and identifying with a class. And the way you identify with the supposed, alleged, mythological Canadian sophisticated intellectual elite is that you think these things and not those things. And, I really think they've trained middle class professionals, the university educated professional class in Canada. They've trained people to believe that the more you restrict your thinking, the least that you allow yourself to contemplate outside of a strict little box, then that's an indication of how educated and enlightened and sophisticated you are. Because they don't engage in any of these forbidden ideas. They simply dismiss them as that's what those people think. That's what the people that you don't want to be associated with think. That's how it's presented to Canadians. You see this all the time. So I'll show you this clip. This was the, I think it's called the At Issue panel on CBC, hosted by Rosemary Barton. and the same three dismal, dreary, depressing, boring panelists that they have on every time, every night, week after week. And so they were talking about this, for 48 hours, it was the most important thing in the world when Pierre Poilievre spontaneously drove past a group of protesters out west, I think they were in Alberta, who were protesting the carbon tax, and he decided to pop in and have a chat with them, right? So look at how Andrew Coyne and Althea Raj talk about talking to these people.
The voters should not be put in the position of having to wonder whether the next Prime Minister of Canada is a mainstream, normal politician or somebody who hangs out with extremists.
Well, Andrew said he's kind of, winking at conspiracy theorists. He's not just winking. He is engaging them. He is affirming what they have said on the World Economic Forum, for example, that Justin Trudeau's government is run by the World Economic Forum. We've seen that during door knocks. And placating, encouraging people who, frankly, are detached from reality is not the kind of leadership that we should expect for somebody who wants to be the Prime Minister of the country.
And there you have it. If you don't conform to Althea Raj's perspective on the influence of the supranational institutions like the WEF, if you don't limit your thinking to what she and Andrew have decided is the righteous, correct way to understand all of this stuff, it's not that they just disagree with you. They're not making arguments. They're not addressing or trying to refute any of these ideas. They are declaring that if you don't think the way they do, there's something wrong with you, right? You're detached from reality. You're not normal. That's what they're telling the audience here. That's the message that's being projected. Look at these people who think outside of this box where all the sophisticated people think. You're not supposed to think this way if you want to think about yourself or consider yourself to be a sophisticated, urban, university-educated professional. We all know that only the dumb rubes out in the sticks think these things. And you don't want to be associated with those people. You want to be associated with us. So, you better not think those things. Right? This is what we get all of the time in Canada. It's this glorification of the status quo, glorification of the establishment narrative on anything. Right? It's the demonization of questioning the status quo, demonization of active independent thinking. It's the demonization of intellectual curiosity. And like I said, I think this is the explanation for it, is that this class of people, the university-educated professional class, has been conditioned to equate sophistication and enlightenment and intellectual excellence with limiting your thinking to this little box of sanctioned ideas, concepts, interpretations, and beliefs. And it's ironic, right? It's counterintuitive. These are supposed to be the clever people. They're supposed to be the exceptionally insightful and intelligent people. They're the people who are elevated to write columns for the Globe and Mail and the Toronto Star and to be on television and the national broadcaster, giving us their insight and their deeper understanding of these complex issues in the world. And what you get is just the most banal, conformist groupthink projected at you as this is what you're supposed to think is insight and a sign of intelligence. And meanwhile, outside of the little bubble of Canadian media and the Canadian intelligentsia, there's an exciting, interesting world of ideas and perspectives and information and knowledge about all of these issues. It is being discussed by people who are way more impressive than Althea Raj and Andrew Coyne. But of course, none of that gets airtime. None of it gets exposed via the kind of the remaining collective media sources, outlets, right? And unfortunately, there's still a fairly large swath of the population who invest a lot of credibility into the mainstream media. And you see this trickle down from the academics and the journalists and punditry class. You see it trickle down to average Canadians. If you go on X and you see the perspectives represented there, the number of people who themselves have figured out that if I want to be considered not one of the rubes, not one of the stupid people, then I adopt these opinions and perspectives of the officially sanctioned, sophisticated, intelligent class and repeat them as my own. And when I do that, then I get to point at someone else and go, I'm smarter than them. Look, I think the right things. Those people are the dumb people. And that's what it's about. It's about privileging a gratifying persona, a gratifying self-image. And, the way you do that these days is that you conform to the officially sanctioned perspectives and narratives because those are seen to be invested with all of the qualities that you're supposed to aspire to. You want to be like Andrew Coyne. Like he's something to someone to take seriously or be impressed by. Althea Raj, Chantal Hébert, people who say the most banal, boring things. These dismal, dull, uninteresting, uninspiring, unimpressive, mediocre thinkers. And this is what is constantly represented to Canadians as the ultimate in intellectual understanding and discourse and discussion, right? That's what you get, and if that's the kind of thing that turns you on, then, if you want boring, banal reification of the establishment status quo version of everything, then you know where to look. It's looked at the Andrew Coynes and the Althea Rajas. Instead of interesting, cutting edge, unconventional, nonconformist thinking and analysis, we get Althea Raj and Andrew Coyne.
This is going to get ugly. Never okay.